I was watching a video about the plastic surgery that is kind of creating a same face syndrome among female stars, female celebrities at the highest level. I guess that they were pointing to people like Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato and Ariana Grande. Interesting. Child stars. All three of those examples are child stars who were on the Disney Channel. But it's this very aggressive plastic surgery that people are saying is creating an uncanny look. We are literally, this is uglies. Like, once again, this timeline that we're living in, this is not like, there's no like, oh, this is a metaphor for what's happened. No, like, literally, this is just uglies. That uncanny plastic face. It's just, it's here. And I guess there's a couple things. Looking to Lady Gaga, like as an example, I'm thinking what you can do with makeup, especially when you are allowed, like it's in a situation where you can get away with doing very theatrical makeup. You can change your facial structure so much. And what scares me about the plastic surgery is like they are chasing a very specific kind of face, a look that is, I think, a trend. And when it's makeup, you can just wash it off. When it's surgery, when I saw Danny at fucking Batavia Comedy Vault, Jeff, I said this on my blog already, but he made kind of a thoughtless comment about women who have too much plastic surgery and kind of put the entirety of the blame on them in that moment. And it's like authenticity right now is the currency. And so there's this pressure for a celebrity or an influencer to look the way that they look in private. That is what we think of. Like that is the definition of authenticity, or the kind of authenticity that is expected of them. That's what it means. Is if you are putting on a mask, you are putting on a performance in some way, that's not as authentic. We want to see the real you. And I feel like that is creating this toxic situation where they have to literally surgically reconstruct their face so that it looks like that performance at all times, and it is what their real face looks like. But the problem is, and people are seeing with this plastic face is like, that is not what a real face looks like. And it's also, it breaks my heart as someone who loves caricature and portraiture. It's like you're destroying the likeness, your own likeness. And again, it's like they can make their own choice. But so my friend got this from her aunt, I think. There's poems in it. Some of them, she is very convinced, and I kind of agree. Some of them are like AI. Pretty sure these are all real Thomas Kincaid paintings, not AI. But you never know. People don't have time to make art. That's part of the problem. It's not just that AI exists. The reason it's so potent is people don't have time. We're also tired. We don't have the mental bandwidth. We want something comforting. We want Thomas Kincaid. We don't want to be challenged because we're just so tired. And also like with Drew's videos, like I don't want to be I don't necessarily want to face reality in that way. The audience for art is dwindling. Our time and space and energy to make art is being stolen. And AI is coming in to fill the void. But it is devoid of any soul, and so become our lives. That sounds so dramatic. But the people making these, Danny did in his video about Brett Rivera and stolen content, he had a segment about AI slop kids content, and he went a little bit hard on the people making it, in my opinion, at least not considering the motivation. And I think he said something, I am paraphrasing, but was very close to something like, why don't you just find something that you are passionate about and do it and make money from it? What an out of touch take. Holy guacamole, dude. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Just find something you're passionate about and make money from it. Wowee. The people making this slop, it's not their career. And it is scummy, but it is a side hustle. They are trying to find sources of income that take as little amount of time because they are trying to claw back time and money for their family. They want time to spend with their family. And the less time and the less investment these side hustles take, and the little bits of money that mean we can save up and buy that once in a lifetime trip to Disneyland that meant so much to me as a kid, and it's becoming further and further out of reach for anyone but the upper middle class and above. But we'll scrimp and save and I'll do these things. They're a little bit scummy, but who is it really hurting? I know people do it cynically and greedily. That's always the case. But all of these side hustles, the front facing part of it is the investor bros, the ones making content. Like, with the Pokemon scalping. But they've been grifting since, shilling NFTs, since they were crypto rug pulling, and Pokemon cards is just their flavor of the month right now. They'll move on to something else when they destroy the market of that. But there are people who they are selling shovels to who just want to not be treading water and just want a little bit more time, a little bit more money for these moments, these, a little less than 20 years maybe, or whatever they have as a family with their kids. Like, it's their life slipping away. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so, like, when you take sponsorships as a YouTuber, you also are confronted with, like, taking on a lesser evil. Air up, right? Was it a scam? No. Was it shit? Yeah. Drew Drew literally made a joke about it. I think in good humor or whatever, but like, you take sponsorships, none of them are ideal. None of them are great. Some of them are scummy. Like with honey, I think Markiplier kind of pretty well proved that if you engaged your brain about that situation, it does not pass the smell test. But the YouTubers kind of turn the other way. Is that I'm not going to think about this too much, and it's also not my fault. Like, I'm not going to be held culpable when this happens. The karmic irony was that they kind of got screwed over too, because it's pilfering from their creator codes, right? Or like if they had affiliate links or whatever, that honey was also swiping from them in that way as well. But that's sounding really harsh on the YouTubers, and I'm always going to be sweeping for the YouTubers, especially the boys. You don't have infinite options when it comes to sponsors. You take the lesser evil, I think. And that's kind of what people are doing with these side hustles, I think. I always have to be careful, and I feel like more recently also I've been like expressing my criticism of Danny, which usually comes back to him expressing an opinion that feels a little bit out of touch. It usually does come down to something that I feel like he's blind to, and he just does not think. But I compare it to what I talked about in my last vlog about the spirit animal, where I should have known. Again, if I thought for 2 seconds, because I live in Arizona, I'm surrounded by iconography and things where there's like this tenuous relationship between what is appropriative. I go to downtown Scottsdale, and some of the it feels outdated. Some of the words, the language that they use, and the imagery that they use with Native Americans. But I also don't know. I can't be offended on their behalf. But there is this tension there. And with a spirit animal, I should have thought. I should have thought about that. That's weird. It's not mine. It's not my culture. Um, and my friend had to say it to me when I just so brazenly was like, you're talking about my spirit animal. So it's like that's a thing that like is a part of spirituality that just like exists for everyone and is not coming from a specific culture. Um, and I was glad that she told me. I didn't at any point feel that she was telling me like I was a terrible person. It was a blind spot. There's been a couple times that Danny's kind of and made mention that he would appreciate that kind of feedback, and not that he's ever gonna see, he's ever gonna fucking see this, but I feel okay posting it publicly as opposed to just like keeping it in DMs between me and Laura when we gossip about this kind of stuff. If he happened to ever see it, that I hope he would take it in a way where it's like I feel like it might be a blind spot to him in certain cases, and I want to express that compassionately, but also clearly. But also clearly. Is that all the depressing shit out of the way? I think so. I think so. Let's get on to the fun stuff. This I actually had for my booth. Well, that's not true. My ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, she sells 3D prints. One of the things she did was have classes. I don't know, like she wasn't really teaching, but they were workshops, I guess, where she would have the 3D printed things and you would paint them. And that was really fun. And so I painted this Yu-Gi-Oh TV, which was supposed to be a planter. Like you're supposed to put plants in it, but I was going to be using it for business cards for my booth. And I put in these like druid cards that were in my last video, just as like a placeholder for when I was setting up the booth. And I stuck these in here the booth is set up at my parents' house because they have room. But I also brought some of these over. These stickers. Hello, these are my stickers, and I think these are cute. I really actually do like these a lot. And I think this sticker and this one, this is also one I think turned out quite well. And I actually really do love the holographic on it. These two, I gave to Danny along with you can see on my Instagram the Nutcracker drawing I did. I gave it to his manager, and he was in the middle of dealing with the 14-year-old girl whose parents can't read. That's so mean of me. I can't say that. But she thought she would be able to come, and she didn't. And Matt and Danny were very kindly setting up for her to meet Danny. So I think he was a little distracted, but also there's a part of me that's like, he was like, oh God, it's this fucking psycho bitch. And he just took my art and fucking chucked it in the trash. When he went backstage, Danny didn't even see it. I know that's like, again, that is a huge distortion. That's the rejection sensitivity. That's the catastrophizing. Maybe it did happen. That'd be kind of funny. Devastating, but very funny also. This fucking sick. This bitch. My friend Laura sent me a Instagram reel of Weird Al on Stephen Colbert. And I saw that and I was like, that is going to be Danny. That's going to be Danny in 20, 30 years. if he wants it. Not necessarily like specifically the parody music. I mean, Tom Cardy is more falling like directly in the shoes of Weird Al, but in terms of being just a beloved household name comedian with the music side of it. My friend Laura was like, he's not really there. He's not really on Weird Al's level yet. And I was like, yeah, I should say yes. I can't judge objectively. Maybe that's probably true just because he doesn't have time to do music, especially now with two kids, you know. And I think it's not even like he has to do dad stuff. I gotta imagine he talks about doing dad field. Like, it's like, I don't want to spend time doing much else, probably. I mean, I want to be creatively fulfilled, but I also probably just loves doing dad shit. YouTube, such a corset in terms of the kind of content you have to make, especially when you have an established channel, an established brand, an established style. And I so wish, I mean, I was a little scared when he went on that 3 month hiatus, although we kind of knew why that was happening. I wish he could carve out a space. Like, maybe he can still do YouTube, although it takes, like, it does. He's talked about when he was streaming, he talked about how he had these ideas for big projects, but he would have these brand deals line up and he would have to just throw something together. And that, it's like, that just keeps happening and the years keep rolling by. And the ideas that the pipe dream ideas keep stacking up. And I just wish, like, maybe like you could step out of this timeline, like pause time for a second, step into this white void of infinite potential. Danny is like the holodeck in Star Trek, and just think like, we're not thinking about format. We're not thinking about like where this is going to show up. Literally just think about, you can spawn in anything that you need. You can teleport in anyone you want to bounce ideas off of. Like, bring in Curtis, bring in Drew, bring in Robert, your writer. Spawn in costumes, spawn in a synthesizer, your laptop, but you can't go on social media. You can only use Ableton or whatever, your keyboard, and make literally exactly what your heart wants to make. Don't think about how it's gonna get to people. Just literally make your creative baby. It can look like anything. And then once that plutonic ideal of your creative vision is in your mind, come back into the real world and think about, how can we get as close to that with the resources that we have, and where does that sort of thing, as it manifests in reality, where does that make sense, and how does that make sense to share? Maybe it's not even for a lot of people or a smaller audience than he's used to. I feel like we were getting a little closer to that with Fox Season's 2024 songs. It had come from, a YouTube video. The inspiration was not from something pure, but when is it ever? But the songs themselves, the things he was doing, the fucking Instagram account with the captions that were so specific and perfect. Have I talked about this? The captions that were written just like I used to write my captions on my Facebook posts when I was like in high school, and like I went to the zoo, and it's like this like almost Gen X guy who's like just 10 years behind and like a little bit out of touch, and like he knows the internet, but he's like, he's not fully caught up, but he kind of thinks he is. Like, he kind of thinks he knows the social media stuff, but it's just, there's a disconnect there in the way that he's approaching it, and the way that he's doing his Instagram comments aren't even wrong. They're just like, but there was so much specificity, and like every time he makes a comment as Fox Season, I'm like, I'm gushing. I'm stimming. I have been writing. It's just been living in my Google Docs. And sometimes I share with Laura. I've been drawing, though a lot less. I'm definitely in a slump, a creative slump, for the 2D illustration. But I did draw this. You can't understand how I've sat on my hands with the two most recent videos he's done. I would, if this was me a year ago, you would have. I really, one thing that I haven't drawn that I really probably will cave and draw is like a swaggy Jason Fox season. Like, I imagine them doing karaoke for some reason, although I want swaggy Jason to have his guitar and they're like drunk. Maybe it's not necessarily karaoke, but they're like performing in a dive bar or something. I don't know anything. And I just imagine like Fox Seasons like has his arm over him and he's like maybe a pint of beer in the other one and Swaggy Jason's like he's like in it. He's in it like if you've ever seen Danny play guitar and play a song that is I don't want to say those Kami songs aren't sincere, but it's like one of the beats or the chord progressions that he developed. It's like instantly he gets a look where like the whole world fades away. It is a there's a huge chance for projection here, but it's a vulnerability that I feel like I never ever see. And it's safe because it's just the music, but wow, it's different. Yeah, to see him playing guitar and just like like it feels like there's nothing else in his mind but the music in that moment. Anyway, that's maybe that's I kind of imagine Swaggy Jason is like sometimes. You know what's crazy about Swaggy Jason? And I put this on my Instagram story is the devil ears. I had been drawing Foxies on like my more recent comments in the second half of the year, the comics, sorry. Literally and the illustration Fox season with these devil horns from his hair because you can see it in some of the pictures of Danny. His hair can kind of take on that quality, but it was so fucking eerie to see that picture that he posted on his Instagram story before dropping the video. And then Swaggy Jason being this artist who was putting his heart and soul into his music and getting no likes for it versus the comic that I made about Fox season. That's my last post on Instagram that I posted the day that I saw Danny in Batavia. That was Fox season like performing at a swap meet place inspired by like when I went to a swap meet and I saw like a live performer there who was just kind of like shut off in the corner pouring his heart out. And I don't think people even realized that was live music. Um, that's a synchronicity to me. And at this point, I didn't even try to figure out like what that's trying to tell me. I'm just like, that's crazy. That's crazy. Thank you. Like in Zootopia, the two, I think they're boars. Zootopia 2, there's like two boar police characters, and they look so much like the Javelina characters that I drew. And especially because the one that always talks is a girl and she's gruff and they made no attempt to make her look like feminine. And I was like, I love this character and it's so uncanny that this is so much like the character, like the two characters I was developing. Gave me inspiration to go back to that. But um Baby Bug Bug also, her witch's hat is one thing, but her being like a witch, sorry, him, he's Baby Bug Bug. Him being uh, a witch alien. I, like a month ago on my blog, I said that I had settled into feeling like the alien from American Dad, and it felt like people were more comfortable and related to me better when I stopped pretending to be one of them. Like like the interaction was so much more like people knew where we stood when I accepted that I was alien. You are like a person, but you're not a human, you know? And then him needing 10,000 followers to get back to his home planet. Yeah, there's an older version of me that thought that, getting a symbolic, a metaphorical 10K followers would buy me a ticket to a place where I was understood, where I belonged. Drew was on a podcast recently. It was like a dropout podcast, and the host said, I know all these wonderful artists and creative people, but I can't bring them on the podcast because they don't have a large social media following. And that sounds shitty to say, but that's just how podcasts work. People aren't going to click on the episode. And I have to trust her when he said that, but I don't. Like, I used to listen to Fresh Air on NPR when I was coming home from high school. They had people on there who were very obscure sometimes. They had big stars, but they had people who you would never have heard of. And I just kind of don't. I mean, that podcast maybe has a different target demo, so. But the final nail in the coffin with fucking Baby Bug Bug is the viral sound that's on TikTok of him saying, like, my username is Baby Bug Bug. My profile is Baby Bug Bug, and my job, ooh, I need a job. My job is Baby Bug Bug. And people making memes about that being like a hyperfixation. Couldn't be me. Anyway, Danny, his video about robots, I had remembered. Robots were not like, did not rise to the level of hyperfixation, but I'd forgotten how much they were like a reoccurring interest for me. A surprising amount of robot toys. Actually, are they on here? I forget if they're on here or on my phone. But anyway, 4 or 5 robot toys. And I had remembered, I don't think Danny knows Robot Wars. I don't know if he didn't mention it for time's sake or if he just didn't know. I watched the original UK version when I was a kid, and I was like, me and dad are going to compete. That would be my ideal, because I always wanted to be the perfect like STEM girl. He's a software engineer, and he's into like science and stuff, and I wanted to be like a Sally Ride type for him. And so competing, like building our robot and competing in Robot Wars, like that would be, ooh, that'd be so perfect. We never did. But when I had dad watch Danny's video, we were sitting down and he's like, oh, do you remember like you were going to invent the first bipedal robot? And it wasn't until he said that I did remember. And I think I forgot because two-legged walking from robots is kind of passe now. Not passe, but like that's a bridge we crossed long ago. It kind of doesn't seem like incredible, but I do remember when I was like 10 or 11, that was kind of the big goal in robotics, was to get bipedal movement. And I do remember I'm like, I'm gonna invent that. Because I like the idea of a home helping robot, I think. And maybe I wanted to be a home helping robot, but that's very Anakin Skywalker of me, right? Like I'm building my C3PO. I never really followed through on. I had Connects and I built stuff. There was a robot toy that was so sick. It was called a Command-a-Bot. Maybe I'll bring up a picture of it. But yeah, I loved building with Connects. And I love that he is so modular. It's like you have his head and he had wheels and he could roll around, but you could, because it's Connects, you could make his body anything. He had different attachments for hands that were like there's a claw and a crane and it's like, again, kind of an interesting synchronicity there. Or maybe that's just, it's a small world. What the fuck? Oh, I was going to show this comic, or this little panel that I did, which is, I should color it. But part of me is too depressed. Part of me is too depressed. So here, ooh, can you see? Can you read that? This is, let's see, this will focus. It says, oh, wait. This baby bug is saying, "You can make my art viral, Mr. Demon, so my family will love me again." And this is, you can see this looks a little like Danny, just because I can only draw one person. But this is like the scene in the YouTube video where he's talking to that person who dressed up as the K-pop Demon Hunters character. And they were like, "I just make friends with everyone." Which is like crazy, but also like, isn't that what influencers do? Like not literally people's friends, but like, yeah, you're trying to be friends with everyone and leveraging that sense of familiarity, right? This is not, I'm not making commentary on the boys or even Danny specifically, but like, it's funny. Um, and the demon says, "Oh yes, my pet, and all it will cost is your pesky little soul. But don't worry, where we're going, those can be inconvenient." Well, this is actually a kit kit kit. This is a Korean evil laugh. Uh, and then they're going into, it's like the Alice in Wonderland sort of down the rabbit hole. And Baby Bug Bug says, "Where are we going, Mr. Demon?" And he says, "It's a place where dreams come true and art becomes content." Dun dun dun. This is fun to draw. I should color this. I almost feel like I should do a whole separate video for the Pokemon stuff, but fuck it, who cares? There's timestamps, right? We can do chapters. You can skip through parts that you don't like, you don't care about. Let's see. Wait, there's this. Can I even show any of this? I kind of want, like, there's good stuff in there. It's just a lot of it is lewd. This one's pretty safe. Look at there's so much. Oh, people are so talented, man. And this is one of those things where it's like, okay, they're. I can't. Oh, it's so. This is so stupid. Me just like, uh, saying like, wow, this is so good, guys. I wish you could see. Um. Oh, this one's very sweet. Ignore the fact that one of them's half naked. Look at that. God. This is why I feel very little shame. Well, that's not true. I worry about my attachments, but the fan art side of it, are they naked? They're not naked. They're not good. Look. It's so cool. But fan art, like, yeah. Ooh, can't show that. That is pornographic. Um, this one is cool. This is the kind of one that I like. I really was not into the cards other than getting the Japanese ones and practicing my katakana, which is the version of the alphabet that they tend to use for loan words. It's always interesting. There's kind of a meme with primo strategy guys where it's like it's not always the best strategies, is it? It's like some 40-year-old guy who like kind of knows. That's elitist of me. That's coming from like the Guild Wars 2 speed running where you know what's stupid? So it was called D&T and it was actually it used to be a WoW guild too. But there's this meme in Guild Wars 2 and it holds up statistically that the North American servers, the players are just not as good as the Europeans. And there was so much elitism in terms of the guides that D&T used to put out, like the meta for the builds of the classes and strategies for the dungeons and fractals. And the Europeans would always like kind of meme on the North American players were just not being as with it, as like sharp as them, as skilled as them. And it's like the elitism, heavy elitism. And some of that still lingers within me the way that I approach, especially video games, but games of all kind, like needing that, like, the meta strategy that has to be completely optimal. I do this at Stardew Valley of all things. I can't just play Stardew Valley like a normal person. I'm always doing a speed run. I'm trying to do the community center in 1 year, and if I don't, if I miss the backpack upgrade on the day that I want, I have to start the whole run over, and it's like, dude, it's Stardew Valley, girl. What the F are you doing? Oh, sorry, you can see this. I don't know what this is. Can we open this? It's open. This one, I don't know what it is, so you'll get to see this with me. Oh, it looks like oh, this is gotta be the Prima strategy guides for a gold version? It's just, I don't know where oh yeah, Prima's officially, I don't know where the cover is. Well used, I suppose, although I don't remember really. I just remember referencing this because, again, you gotta remember. Well, gold version, I remember I was like 6 or 7 or 8, and we did have the internet in the late 90s, but it was not like you had the internet, but you couldn't just Google a question and Google would intuitively understand you. Like you would have to find a website version of this. And like there wouldn't be forums because, again, this is for like little kids, right? This game. Adults don't know. So there's not going to be like forums where people are talking about this gold version. And if there was, I was 7. I didn't know what a forum was. So this was much more convenient to reference if I think there's a puzzle I didn't know. This was very useful. We had the strategy guide I mentioned last time, the strategy guide for Final Fantasy VII as well, that me and my dad, my poor father had to. I was too impatient to read the dialogue, I hate to admit. And I would always get lost. I'd be like, Dad, I don't know what to do next. Will you play for me? He's like, did you listen to what they were saying? Did you read the text bubbles? No, I just want to do chocobo racing. Can you do this for me? And my dad ended up loving it. Honestly, he cried when Aerith died. To put that in perspective, he was 40 when I was born. He was born in 52, and he's a software engineer. He was savvy with the electronic stuff, but gaming he was not really his thing. But that and Spyro, I got him the Reignited trilogy a few days ago, and he spent like a week. He did nothing pretty much but play through those games. He loved it. He loved it. That's one of my fondest memories, is playing video games with my dad. I hope that Danny does not let his insecurity about his skill of video games I can't be prescriptive. Listen, I'm putting this into the ether, okay? There is a collab waiting to happen between Danny and Rasputin, because Rasputin, I actually submitted this in Danny used to have a forum where you could recommend video ideas. And Rasputin does a series that is gaming for non-gamers. Usually his wife is the guinea pig. But can you imagine? The thing is, Danny's actually quite good. I think he has a warped perspective because from what he's talked about, his brother was like very good. And I worry it was a cascading thing. Like video gaming, especially for little boys, I think it's like when you start playing violin when you're 4. But people don't realize with video games, like the skill involved. And so you get to 16, and it's like you've been playing violin since you were 4. And if your older brother was like took to it very well, and you were kind of like, oh, I don't know, I'm not the best at it, and it's making me insecure maybe, and it's like, it's not my thing, that skill gap widens and widens and widens, and maybe you think that you're not, like, you're just intrinsically, or like you lack some inherent skill, and where he messes up most of the time is the performance anxiety part of it. I see when he was trying to play Fortnite, I do that in competitive games. I do that, and I see him, and I think it's like he actually he could surprise himself, and he has. He did the water bucket trick mid-air while fighting the Ender Dragon. Do you think he thought he could do that? He literally said in like his second stream that he watched Stream do the water bucket trick, and he knows he's not that type of person, that he could never do that. That's why there are two videos of Danny that I've only watched once. The one where the guy cements his head into a microwave. Maybe you can understand why. Uh, that's like trying to watch Final Destination. I want to crawl out of my skin. And the fake speed run. And I hate that. I hate that I'm so sensitive and I took that like personally. But God, watching those streams were so, it sounds so corny to say, but it was inspiring how he would show up every day. He never let it stop him that he was insecure about his ability. He went in front of 10,000, 12,000, 14,000 people doing something. I wouldn't be in front of that amount of people doing the thing I thought I was best at on my best day. And he's going in there doing something he doesn't think he's very good at. So let us soliciting their advice even when they laugh at him and try to trick him. And he just kept chugging through it. And look at how far he came. And I was sitting there at the time, I was just starting to post on social media my art. And I would always tell myself, like, what are you worried about? It doesn't have to be good to deserve to be posted. Just post it. Brandon Lapine, who I got to know a little bit, um, I always, the few times when I got really anxious about having a creator work with me, he would give me some sage advice. And one of the things he said was like, people do like to see cool art, but people also like to see the journey. People like to see people improving. I just thought if Danny can go on stream in front of 14,000 people and play guitar he's been playing for like maybe a year at most, and like, what am I scared of? He can go and play Minecraft and just have fun and be silly. And like, was I ever annoyed? Like, I was gonna say, was it ever hard to watch him being bad? Like, yeah, sometimes. But like, was it compelling because of the story and seeing him improve? Like, I wasn't watching Dream speedrun. I know a lot of people did, but I think people were watching Dream more for the roleplay part of it, right? Like, you want the story. And even Pichel, Pokemon Challenges, he had a magnum opus sort of video about his run and bun Nuzlocke, and it was almost like spiritual in the narrative of it, and helped me understand the spiritual message, like, you're exactly where you're meant to be, everything is happening for a reason. Because the way that he, like, the challenges and even the failures that you would have that didn't end the run sometimes ended up showing him options that he had never thought of and ended up being better. And he could always pivot into something different. And the story of it ended up being so compelling exactly because of the failures and the scuffed parts and the things that went unexpectedly.